In this exercise, we're going to be working through assignment 5.9, number 1. These are also extended authentic cadences where only tonic and dominant are used in a melody to harmonize a melody. And the new twist is that the bass line, for the most part, is not given to you, so you have to imply the harmony from the given soprano. Our key signature, no sharps, no flats, is everybody's favorite key of C major, so we're comfortable working with that. Could be A minor, but looking at the melody line, there's no G sharp, and that we really need to have to support A minor. You need to have a G sharp. So also the first two notes given to you, the C and the G, are basically hinting to us that this is going to be C major. So let's go ahead and label the key C major, and in our mind's eye spell the tonic triad C, E, G, and spell the dominant triad G, B, D. You should be able to do that in any major or minor key. Spell the tonic and dominant triad. Anyway, we'll go ahead and label our first two chords tonic to dominant since they've given us the bass line. But for the rest, we're going to have to actually look at the notes of the soprano line. D, then C, then E, then D, then G, then B, then C, and determine what chords those notes fit into. So for instance, the note D in the soprano here is the fifth of the dominant chord. So that's why we're going to label this dominant. And the note C is the root of the tonic chord. So that's why we're going to label this tonic. This note E is the third of the tonic chord, and that's why we're going to also label this tonic. So we have a repeated triad. Then we have another D. Remember, D is the fifth of the dominant chord, so that's going to be the dominant. We have a G here. Now this could go either way, because G is the root of the dominant chord, but G is also the fifth of the tonic chord. So it's basically up to us to decide, how do we want to go. I'm going to go ahead and stay with the dominant chord, and then the B. By the way, you could have used tonic though. There would be nothing wrong with that. I'm going to go with this last note of the measure B. That's going to have to be the third of the dominant chord, so that's dominant. So we have a whole measure of dominant. And finally, we have a C, and that's going to be the tonic chord. So we're using our melody notes, which I'm erasing now, but we're using our melody notes to imply what harmony could accompany those. And I used note names. Your textbook uses these numbers, and really either way is okay. All right, so now that we have our Roman numerals, we can go ahead and fill in the bass notes that are missing. So for this chord, I need a G. Why don't I just keep the G in there? And then we need to go to a C. Then we have another C. Notice I'm putting the note right under the soprano. Then we have a G, and I'm going to keep a G for the whole measure. G, G, and G. I could have dropped an octave too. Bass is allowed to move around. It's usually more disjunct. It could have jumped from, for instance, that G. I could have jumped to this G down here. That leap of an octave is okay if it's the bass. In fact, I'll do that. I'll leave it like that. And then lastly, C. So now I have all my bass notes in. Let me just clean this up down below. And once again, write the tonic chord C, E, G, and write the dominant chord G, B, D so we can reference it. Okay, so in our first chord we need two roots. We've already got it. Right? We've got it in the bass. There's a C, and we've got it in the soprano. There's a C. So I'm going to go ahead and give the tenor a G, and the alto an E. So I've got the remaining two chords. So in that first chord, I've got two roots, 1/3, 1/5. Perfect. Going on to the next chord, I'm going to try to use the maintain the common tone. There it is in the tenor, and then move the other two by step. So again, maintain the common tone in the tenor, move the other two by step. That's part writing procedure number 1. Going to the next chord, it's another dominant. Since the soprano goes up, I'm going to have to re-voice the other notes, or I'll wind up having the wrong doubling or more than an octave between voices. So I'm going to bring the alto up to G, and I'm going to bring the tenor up to B. And now going to the next chord, the tonic. Look at my doubling. Well, I've already got two C's, so I don't need to worry about the doubling. I just need to have the other two voices cover the remaining notes. Let's move the alto down to E and the tenor down to G. So which part writing procedure did I use? I moved the upper three voices in similar motion to the next available chord tone. All right, we've got another tonic chord, and you can see the soprano is leaping up, so we're going to have to move our voices around. If the alto would stay on the E down below, if it would stay down here, then we'd end up having more than an octave between adjacent voice parts. We do not want that. Right? That's a part writing error. So what will I do? Well, let's try moving the alto up to the G and the tenor up to the C. So I've got my doubling, right? There's my two roots, C and C. And there's my third, that's soprano's E. And there's my fifth, the alto's G. Okay, moving on to the next chord. We could keep the common tone, move the other two by step. Let's try that. The G is the common tone in the alto. And the other two moving by step would be the soprano and the tenor, moving down by step. So common tone was the alto, and the other two moving down by step, soprano and tenor. All right, we have another dominant chord. So I'm going to try moving the alto down to D and the tenor, just keep it on the B. And I do have the doubling I need, right? I have two G's, the soprano and the bass. Then I have a third in the tenor and a fifth in the alto. And yet I need one more dominant chord. Since the soprano is moving up to a B, I can't leave the tenor on the B. So what I'm going to do is move the tenor down to the G, and then just keep the alto on the D. So what I did is actually called a voice exchange, where I took the soprano note, G to B, and I reversed that in the tenor, B to G. Okay, so voice exchange works well. And let me finish this by using maintain the common tone. That's going to be the G, right, in the tenor. There's the common tone. G stays the same. And then let's move the other two, up by step. So that just gives the alto and E. And that's how I complete that extended exercise. And if you'd actually sing this, each voice part, the bass, the tenor, the soprano, and the alto, each voice part actually is easy to sing because we've used good voice leading, and yet the chords that they form make nice harmony.